All right, welcome into the Coach Mark Schmidt Show, presented as always by Aria Health, your hospital in Lower Bucks County. I'm here with head coach of the Chamonix Football Redskins, head coach Mark Schmidt, and I have a new shirt on this week. Every week I have to prepare better because the team gets better, you know.
Well,
and
I wore my I wore my school clothes
as
today.
do you. Back to school, first day. So
before you kind of had me in camp mode,
that's
so
right.
I felt a little more comfortable, but now I represent.
That's right. Speaking of representing, two weeks, two shutouts. Now it's my job as part of the media, if you want to call me that. I don't do that.
You don't call yourself part of the media.
I'm a mess.
An announcer.
I'm a
and
mess.
You're a host
I don't even give myself that much credit.
You're not a media guy.
I don't give myself that much credit.
Wow. Okay.
Back-to-back shutouts, back-to-back 30 points on the board. A lot of good things. Obviously, I'm going to paint a positive picture, but there are some good things we saw.
Well, let's also make sure we understand. Last year, back-to-back shutouts, back-to-back 30 points, and Saturday came in here and kicked our butt.
You're right.
So, didn't have to say much about that to remind these guys. It's a short week. It's a crazy week. We, obviously played Friday. We were one of the few teams that did play Friday, so we were all out and about Saturday scouting everybody. We gave our, the guys that played Friday off. They came in Sunday. They gave them Saturday off. They came in Sunday. And our JV guys played on Saturday, and so it worked out pretty well. So we got a chance to get the film in because Souderton played Saturday morning. So we went to make sure we went down and saw them. A bunch of us went down and got the film on the computer, broke it all down, showed the kids. And yesterday, not a whole lot had to be said out there. They realized that we really did not play very well at all. And Souderton's a big, strong team. We've known them for years. We lived against them in competitions back then. We see their linemen. We always deal with them in 7-on-7s. And every year, it's a war. And we're going up there. It's a short week. It's crazy, apparently, weather-wise. Who knows? So we're very in tune with what we need to do here.
We're going to talk about Saturday a little bit later, but we're going to talk about Friday first. Downingtown West came in 1-0, dominant win against Cheltenham. Got some decent rankings after that, a lot of pub, and they came in. And one thing I think that you guys did, and you'll probably tell me right now how important it is that you dominated the line of scrimmage, offensively and defensively for the most part.
We were happy with that, and that was a big challenge. Our big deal was, take that step between week 1 and 2, and we really put it on our guys. And Downingtown came in with very wide open offense and a lot of things they do, and 2 quarterbacks that were returning in the backfield and line, so they had a very good club, and they had, we didn't get off to a very good start. I mean, Devin had a great return back to the 50, and then I think every lineman, including the tight ends, 3 plays and out, and all. I think that's 18 guys. We had 18 minuses, and we fell on our butts, and and then the defense hung in there and had a good stop, and then we just kind of settled down and got the ball going a little bit. And then defensively, everybody just started to really play well, and it was nice to see guys just really take steps. And I was happy to see there was about 4 or 5 guys that we weren't happy with at all at Northeast, and they really took some steps. And whether it was the whole game or half the game, by the end of the game, they were playing much more like we want them to. It's encouraging. It's good to see them smile more, and our young guys held them out there at the end with a great stand, and which is a sign of our coaches and everybody preparing and putting it all together.
Sometimes people say the game's played from inside out, and a couple of those guys you mentioned that maybe stepped up this week, at least interiorly. Alex Nicholas and Mike Palmer.
Well, you named 2 guys right there that really were, in our doghouse for a while, and not in a bad way, but
right.
It was more of a way that they just, they're 2 guys that just shoulder a lot of it, internally, and they sometimes they're both guilty of trying too hard. And it was very evident during the course of that game that they just started to settle down and just start to play. And really, offensively too, Mike Palmer played very well. But defensively, he really stepped it up a little bit. And I was happy to see that. He really started to be the guy that we knew he could be. Alex, became Alex, buzzing around in there and creating all kind of havoc too. So, which allowed everybody else to just kind of, stay on top of what they're doing and have some fun.
Another guy settling in your secondary, who I think, young guy, a lot of promise. We talked after the game, Denzel Hughes, first varsity reception. Tall, rangy kid, a decent job back there against a lot of guys you knew coming in, they like to air the ball out. He did a pretty good job playing center field.
Denzel's smart. He's a good kid, and this has been great. He's another one of these guys that doesn't want to make mistakes, and sometimes that approach gets you in trouble. And he was more and more every day he seems to be more and more assertive, and in practice he did a really nice job of getting us lined up and getting us to where we had to be, because those motions are fast, and they change some things that we want to do, and coverage wise and such, and it's pretty intricate, and Denzel stays on that pretty well, and he and Brown and Mags, all three of those guys really kind of work well together. I was happy to see J.R. Stevens jump in there and do some nice things. So that was fun.
Offensively, Tyler Wambo coming in the second start. We mentioned senior guys that are quarterbacks, but he's kind of a new guy in the sense of taking the quarterback reins. He had some nice guys to tootle under, but he comes in the first quarter, I believe. There's a nice touchdown pass and a rollout to Bill Ritchie. Two guys who I think you both need to step up this year, not just Tyler, but Bill Ritchie as well.
Well, Billy's another guy that took a step, and that's good. That's good for us, because Luke is obviously the key component of our defense, and he's certainly a fixture of the offense. But to have two guys like that can be productive on the perimeter of the offensive line kind of gives you a whole lot of diversity, and that's a good start for us. We put Billy with Mike, the senior and the sophomore, and we put Luke with Hunter, who's the senior and the sophomore. So they kind of work together, and and then the guys in the middle kind of they work off of Cook, and who's this 3-year guy. So it takes time to blend and gel, and it's kind of cool. When we called the play, I knew Billy was rotating in. I told him what the rotation was. I wasn't keeping track as to who was in, and he ran a great route, and Tyler put a ball right in there, and we expect Billy to make that play.
Another guy you expect making a lot of plays in the backfield, not just DeAndre Pollard, who's had back-to-back 100-yard games, but Denny Lord rotating in with Blake Sullivan. He's really adapted to that middle linebacker, and he's back in the backfield. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, you guys are pretty tough to stop when you bring in either Blake or Denny to lead block for DeAndre, give the ball to themselves.
Well, that's kind of, I had a guy email me, he wouldn't give me his name, but he emailed me, you should go to this spread offense everybody's running, you're antiquated. And I could just see, it was funny.
Don't call you a dinosaur.
I told our team that, and we all laughed. I said, "Yeah, sure, we'll put Blake out there, and Alex Nicholas, But we have personnel that can create those things, and we like some of the mismatches that we can hopefully try to get and keep building the offense a little bit. So, rolling those guys and everything is, it's not a way to keep them happy with plays. It's about, keeping them fresh and keeping everybody on the same point. And, it's the second week of the season. We're expecting the mugginess to come back and those hot nights and that kind of stuff. So you better have depth, and I think that's so important.
We look forward to seeing more of that depth there on Thursday as the Jewish holiday moves everyone up a day. So short week for the Redskins. When we come back, we'll talk about the Saturday Indians, who you mentioned. Non-conference opponent, but not a team you guys are unfamiliar with. So we'll talk more about that right after this here on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show, presented by Aria Health here on WBCB1490.com.
The ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute is redefining care in Center City and South Jersey. And our 50,000 square foot location on ARIA Health's Bucks campus in Langhorne features private rooms, free parking, and nearby hotels. With over a century of experience, the world-class 3Bs, Doctors Booth, Bartolozzi, Balderston, and their partners personally guide you from treatment through recovery. For all your orthopedic needs, call 1-888-ORTHO-3B or visit aria3bortho.org. At the ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute, you come first.
All right, welcome back into the Coach Mark Schmidt Show, presented as always by Aria Health, your hospital in Lower Bucks County. We just got done talking about the big Downtown West win, but I know you're just like me. You want to just put that kind of in the rearview mirror because you got quite a tall task coming up against Saturday, the team you're familiar with. Before we talk about them, I mentioned before we went to break, it's a short week. Now, you guys got lucky. You played on Friday. A lot of teams
Right.
play on Saturday.
Right.
Does that change a lot when you're on Thursday rather than Friday?
Well, yeah, it does. The schedule kind of worked out well for us. We all kind of met about it. We talked about it. It did kind of take one lifting day out of our schedule, but because we just don't want the kids here till 7 o'clock. Yesterday is our first day of school, on top of this. So everybody's up earlier and here, and half of them are, getting schedules squared away, locker combinations, classes, all that stuff. So, there's a lot going on, and it's a lot of things that first time so far this year that can be distracting and such like that too. So the last thing we wanted to do was turn it into a marathon.
Right.
So we made, we adjusted our schedule and got them in, gave them Saturday off because you have to give them, one day off. And we came with the kids. Every guy was here, 9:30, got a good lift, really watched the film hard, looked at it, and left here with a clean slate. Got the afternoon to relax, and then they came in yesterday, and we got on Saturday, from Jump Street, defensively and offensive script. And today's more offense-minded, finish up with the defense, and then hopefully tomorrow we can, 50 blended in with our special teams, and then get on the bus and play.
I know non-conference opponents, the last two, you guys have, in a sense, been unfamiliar with, but I know you mentioned that you want to talk to your players about. It's a Saturday team that we've played the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They beat us last year at home.
Sure.
Was that a sense of a pride factor in these guys playing? Not just this week, but we're going to see Tenet next week. And another, you kind of call them pride games, I guess.
Well, and immediately after the game, I think you were down there. I was happy, as pleased as I was to see them happy and have that accomplishment. As pleased as I was to come out of that game successful, and relatively injury free, moving on. And I shifted the gears to them and said, hey, here's if I got to get your attention this week or next, you're not near the team, I think. So, and I haven't. I have not, and neither have the coaches. We all are ready to go. We have full respect for, the Souderton physicalness of what they do. We were at Unionville. Sounds like they've got a lot of kids that they've had some timely injuries, and they've had kids in and out. And with that offense, it's hard to get clicking sometimes when you have some guys out, and that was a little bit evident. But there were a lot of guys looking pretty healthy on the sideline that didn't play. That hope that probably in another week's time, by Thursday they should probably be in uniform. So we're expecting to see typical Souderton, who's going to line up and hit us in the mouth and run that offense as well as they can. And then they really defensively they create some problems with a different style defensive front, and a lot of pressure and a lot of movement from linebackers and such, and creating a lot of mayhem in there to screw up blocking schemes. So that's exactly what they did to us last year, and we laid the biggest egg of the season.
You mentioned Coach Gallagher. You're familiar with him. They lose. You mentioned injuries. They probably lost when their best offensive and defensive line, Rick Young, to a broken leg in training camp, things like that. And unfortunately, those things happen in this game. But as far as what your guys need to do is concerned, you're going to see a team you mentioned. No matter the score, they're a tough physical bunch, and they're going to come out and hit you. What do you want to see from your offense or your defense when you come in against a team that is 0-2, whether it's Saturday or anything else, and haven't had productive offense this far?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we just pick up where we left off. It's a different style. Last week's offense had a lot of similarities to this week's offense.
Right.
So, but they just have a little different personality up front. They're much bigger, much more straightforward. Whereas Downingtown was a little bit more, used more speed and tried to semi-finesse, but they tried to, they got into us a little bit. But this crew's just going to come right at you. And quarterback's back, same guy from last year, and he did a real nice job against us last year. Played great, and he's probably one of their better players anyway. And he's got some guys up front. He loses Ricky, who's a terrific player, but he's got more guys that they can certainly. If they're all out there, they can we're not the biggest team, so we've
Right.
got to play great technique. We've got to move our feet. We've got to, you know, understand what they're trying to do to us and react to it, and do our jobs.
You mentioned, we mentioned against Downingtown West, you guys kind of dominated the line of scrimmage. And you got a very veteran offensive group, but a younger guy that has been stepping in at one of the tackle positions for you, Hunter Kelly, one of the lone underclassmen on this squad. It's done a nice job with meshing with a lot of seniors on this group.
Yeah, Hunter's done well. I mean, he's a guy that we our younger guys, we try to, they're really guys that we're going to really need on at that varsity level. Try to give them one side of the ball to worry
Right.
about, and he's done well with that. We've really kind of, I don't want to say the word spoon-fed, we've kind of accelerated this process by having him play only one side. And, as I say, he works with Luke, together on that side a lot of times, and then they've kind of worked together and done well, and every week he just gets better. I mean, he's one of those guys that doesn't want to make mistakes, so sometimes with that mentality, you kind of hang around a little too long on things instead of just,
Right.
going out there and playing loose and free. And I saw some signs of him taking some good strides, week 2.
Back-to-back home games you guys had throughout the season. I know you don't do a lot of the scheduling aspect. Maybe you do. I'm not sure. But you started last year at the first game of the year at Northeast, and does it change? Is it that much easier to start 2 weeks at home, then go on the road, as opposed to going to Northeast, coming back, then going back home? Whatever it was last year? What do you
I don't
prefer?
know,
I should
Matt.
say.
I think there's less headaches when you go on the road,
Right.
because they're here. We're in school, and we're going to stay. We're going to eat here, and then we're going to, we're all here. We just get on the bus, we go.
Right.
The last 2 games we weren't in school yet, so
Right.
we had to wait for everybody. Fortunately, everybody was on time and early actually, and getting here. And usually sometimes there's a accident on Route 1, and 5 guys are 10 minutes late and screwing up the whole thing. And that's not their fault,
Right,
but
right.
So when they go away and have to come back,
Mhm.
that's a real pain in the neck. So sometimes the away games actually can work out for the better, because you can kind of just move along and just jump, get your work done, get on bus and go.
We'll see if that's the case here on Thursday night on WBCB1490.com as the Red and Shine Redskins travel up the Turnpike to take on the Saturday Indians. School's back in session. Well, Coach Mark Schmidt has his beautiful game day attire
I
on, in a
do.
sense.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Representing.
That's right. And before we represent the end of the show, we have to do our picks once again. 1-1 again you go. Back-to-back weeks you go 1-1.
Chip, and I'll tell you,
Phenomenal last night.
Well, it was interesting. It was funny, just how rusty RG3 was.
Yeah.
But then it got scary as to when he got cooking. Just how good he was. And, I'm happy for the Eagles to get off to a good start. It sounds like the city's all fired up, but we'll see.
We'll see about a game on Saturday at Kyle Field and in College Station. Big one. Johnny Manziel against the Alabama defense. Who do you got?
I'm a Saban guy.
I know you are.
Alabama.
It's a sexy pick.
He's got, oh, wow. I think the sexy pick would probably take the other guy.
You think so?
I don't know. I mean, I think that that loss there at Alabama last year was huge. As far as waking up that team,
Right.
and I think they've spent a lot of spring practice figuring out how to get that guy squared away. And it's very evident they went out and recruited. It was funny because ironic. After you figure out after last year, they really didn't. They kept saying, "Well, they don't have guys that rush the passer." What they could do, they went out and got like 6 defensive ends or some crazy number like that, and then if they got bigger, they moved inside. He went out and got guys that are going to be able to contain this rascal, and I'd like to see them just give him a little bit of humble pie.
All right, so Bama on the road goes to College Station with Big W. Next game, Sunday night game, you mentioned quarterback play. Colin Kaepernick and the Niners against Russell Wilson in Seattle.
Boy, I'll
It's
tell
got a
you.
nice matchup now, and
Man.
who are you going to go with? Colin had a great game on Sunday. Russell
At
struggled
Seattle?
a little bit. I believe it's at Seattle, yes. I'm not positive.
Wow, that place would be awful.
Yes, it will.
I think both places will be
Yes.
Earthquakeville.
Yes.
Jeez. Man.
two guys, baseball players that are now quarterbacks.
Yeah. Whew. You know, I think I'll go with Harbaugh.
I know you would. You're just like, you don't even go with the guys, you go with the coach. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a mix of both.
Yeah.
Huh?
You know, I mean, they gutted it out, last week. I thought they played pretty well.
Yeah.
And, that was, I saw the tail end of that. That was war.
Yeah,
they were getting after it. They gotta get that run game going though.
Mm-hmm.
They do. They really, Kaepernick was throwing the ball. How about Anquan?
Phenomenal.
I saw him there making one catch.
Mm-hmm.
Holy mackerel! So he's, those guys. I mean, they're like football.
They're
just so cool. And he's such a tough guy.
Yes, he is.
Such a hard-nosed player. Gosh, they're the guys I really like.
Yeah, sure. It's very evident.
And I like both quarterbacks.
Right.
And, I like Pete Carroll. He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But
We'll go with the Niners. If Coach Harbaugh needs any help with the offensive run game, he can come to Heartbreak Ridge next week maybe and see him play tenant and figure out how to run the football, Jim. So if you're listening right now, it's the internet. It could get to him. Who knows?
You need to stop.
Okay.
You need to stop.
I want to thank Coach Mark Schmidt.
Coach Harbaugh's got it more than figured out. I've been trying to steal his stuff for years.
I want to thank Coach Mark Schmidt once again for joining us, Aria Health, our sponsor. And for you listening, we will see you on Thursday night at Saturn as the Saturn Indians take on your Neshaminy Redskins. For Matt Miro from WBCB, Coach Mark Schmidt from the Neshaminy Redskins, signing off, saying we'll see you next week.